I'm Tim Carter, AskTheBuilder.com, and I'm about to start a repair of a concrete paver patio here at my own home. Do you have a concrete paver patio, sidewalk, driveway that looks like this? Check this out. Look at these stones that are now all uneven. I mean, it's crazy. Look at this. They're horrible. You know why it happened? I'll show you. Look here. You see what that is? See that hole here? These little wretched chipmunks are tunneling underneath the patio, and it's causing the sand to shift underneath it. It's horrible. I predicted this would happen to my wife, but she wanted this patio, and it's one of the biggest reasons why I dislike paver patios and things like this, because the sand underneath them can wash away. It can be tunneled by little mammals like chipmunks and cause havoc. It's that simple. I'm going to show you how to fix it. The first thing I did was I took a photograph or two of the patio, because this patio of mine has got kind of an interlocking pattern using different shapes of the paving stones. So I want to make sure I put the stones back where I got them from. So it's really important to do that. If you just have a standard brick patio where all the bricks are the same, you don't need to do that. Here's what I'm going to do. I just want to describe really quickly the simple fix. The problem with this installation, and with all installations in my opinion, is that it uses just sand underneath the paving stones. Well, sand is easily moved, easily tunneled, whatever. I'm going to lift the stones up. I'm going to take the sand out. I'm going to blend Portland cement with the sand. I'm going to mix 1 measure of Portland cement to every 3 measures of sand. Put the sand back in, half of it. Put in some pencil rods. Those are just 3/8 inch steel reinforcing rods. Put in the rest of the sand, compact it, get it to the right height, compact it, and then I'm going to lightly sprinkle it with water to get that cement to harden up. And that's going to make it pretty much impossible for the chipmunks to tunnel into the sand and take it out. So that's my plan, and you're going to see how I'm going to do that in just a few minutes. I'm not looking forward to this because some of the stones, the big ones, are very, very heavy. The 12 inch by 18 inch ones. But it is what it is. Let's get started. Okay, look at this. This is incredible. Look how much sand these little guys took out of here. They're taking it back out underneath the deck. I can actually take my fingers and put it underneath this stone here. These guys are miserable. They are horrible. Oh my goodness. I think we're going to find this under much of the patio. The damage is much, much worse than I thought it was going to be. I've lifted 7 stones. Here are the 7 stones I've taken out. I've just basically lifted them out and put them in the exact order they're going to go back. And the damage is so much worse than I thought it was. You're looking at these dark areas are the super highways created by those wretched chipmunks. Look at this. It's unbelievable. Here's one of the places they entered. Look at this. You can see right here outside a shallow area in the soil. They tunneled underneath the restraining edging and created their entrance into this labyrinth of tunnels underneath the stones. It's absolutely unbelievable. Wow. I'm going to change my plan right now on how to fix it. Here's what we're going to do. I just can't believe the damage that these chipmunks have caused. I knew this could happen. I've talked about it for years in past columns of mine on my Ask the Builder website. But this is the first time I've ever taken apart a patio or walkway to show what really happens. It's horrible. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the sand out and I'm going to replace it. There's 2 inches of sand. That's what I originally put in, 2 to 2.5 inches of sand. I'm going to put back in 2 inches of concrete. I'm going to buy bags of ready-mix concrete, you know, the dry mix that you get in bags at any hardware store or home center. I'm going to pour it in and I'm going to compact it. I'm going to compact like the first inch. I'm going to lay down 3/8 inch pencil rods, steel reinforcing rods. Then I'm going to put in the next inch and compact that, get that nice and smooth, get it nice and compact. I'm going to get it beautiful, all right? And then I'm going to probably dust it with a little bit more Portland cement, because I'm then going to sprinkle some water onto it to get that concrete to start to hydrate and get hard. And then I'll start to put the stones back down right away. And I'm going to have to do the patio in sections. I'm not going to take the whole thing up at once, but it's absolutely unacceptable for what these chipmunks have done. My recommendation is you should, if you're going to install a paver patio or a brick patio, you need to do it like I did with my son's patio a year ago. You need to pour a concrete slab, and then you need to mortar down bricks to it, a 1/2 inch bed of mortar, and set the brick, the patio brick, into mortar. And there's no way, no how, the chipmunks or anything is going to disrupt that patio. I've done that for years, but I took a shortcut on this patio. It's a long story. I'm making progress taking out the stones. What I'm going to do is I'm taking out half the patio from the deck here out towards the end of the patio, and I'm going to go about 10 feet to the right. I'm going to have to rebuild the patio in sections, but I want to show you this, what I just discovered. So, if you remember, right over here I showed you the entranceway where the little varmints come in. And they came along here. I kind of crushed this right here. This was a pathway underneath the stones. Follow my finger. Comes over to here. And I just picked up this large stone, and look at that. That's where they made a nest. So they're nesting, and then there's a really big, you know, void underneath that next stone. So this is what these little chipmunks do. I wanted to show you this. As I take up the stones, along the edges where the stones touched one another, there's all kinds of crap, you know, all kinds of stuff that's accumulated in the cracks when the crappy polymeric sand came out. And so each time I take a stone out, I clean it off so that the edges are perfectly clean. You can see that here. This is one I took out. So when I go to put the stones back in, that crap won't get in the way. Make sure you clean off all that debris from the edges of the stones. I've got all the stones out that I'm going to take out. You can see them. I've stacked them all on the other part of the patio, and if I could lift them all up at once, they would just shift over to the left. The next step is we got to get this sand out of here, and we have to take it down 2 inches below the top of the existing stones that are right here. All right. So I made this really neat screed board. It's a 2x4 with a piece of 1 inch oak on top of it and a piece at the other end. It just so happens when I originally installed this patio, the top of the stones was right here. I had it right at the top of the step so that the step would be perfect. And the stones themselves, here's the math. The stones themselves, they're 2.5 inches thick. And if I want 2 inches of concrete underneath the stones, that means that the bottom of the sand here has got to be 4.5 inches from the top of these stones here, and from the bottom of this 2x6. So here's a 2x4, 3.5 inches plus an inch. So when you see the next part of the video, I'm going to have this in and we're going to be screeding this sand, and we're going to get the bottom of this whole area nice and level because we don't want to waste concrete. So we're going to get all of this at the right height, and then we're going to be ready to put concrete in. I decided to pull up a few stones that were tilted so my wife won't trip, you know, that are near where we're working. And look at this. Look at those little devils. Look at all the acorns they've stored here to eat. They're such pests. Can you believe this? These guys were getting ready for the wintertime, buddy. They're in for a big surprise. Made some progress. All of this area here is already graded. The level of the soil and sand is now 4.5 inches below the top of the old patio, which is exactly where we want it. Got to finish this up, starting that right now. And a few hours ago, moved in all the concrete. That's what's going to replace the sand. Once that gets wet and hardens up, good luck, chipmunks. It's all excavated, and we're ready to put concrete in. All right? I had to chip away at 2 of the piers because they were just a little higher than what the finished height of the concrete is going to be. So I didn't want those to be causing problems with the big stones when we put them back. So the plan right now is I've got some 1 inch thick, 1 inch by 1 inch pieces of oak I'm going to lay down here, and then I'm going to start to screed back the first lift of concrete. Those are the 2 1 by 1 pieces of oak, and I'm just about ready to start putting some concrete down, some dry mix, and after I screed a little bit, I'll show you what we got. Well, you're looking at 3 bags of the dry mix concrete. You can clearly see the 1 inch sticks. Here's what it looks like in front of it. I'm about ready to slide the sticks backwards so that they're right underneath the screed board, the 2x4. And I went ahead and compacted it. Really doesn't need it much. It maybe went down a 1/16 of an inch. You know, the dry mix concrete's pretty, it's pretty dense. All right, it's really important to use the right concrete with tiny stones like this. All right, so that's the stones you want to use. They're about the size of your last digit on your fingers. You don't want to use really big stones. I've got the first inch of dry concrete mix in. You can see where I pulled up the 1 inch pieces of wood. Those grooves will get filled in as I put in the next lift. Now it's time to put in the reinforcing steel. Okie dokie, I've got the steel in place. These little pieces here, like this piece, and this piece, I pushed them underneath these existing pavers so that when I put concrete in and redo this section, I'll be able to lock the 2 slabs together. And the same is true for these 3 pieces here. They go underneath the pavers here. So it's pretty important to try to lock all that concrete together. I've got just about a half of it done. I thought you'd like to see it halfway. That area here, perfectly smooth. There's a couple of little voids there. I'm not worried about those. I've got some fine sand left over from when I took it all out that I can brush over that. You can see how we're covering up the rebar. The screed board's working out really, really well. And I use my magnesium float to kind of just gently glide it over an area. I only do about 16 inches at a time, and then I float it with my, that magnesium float to really make it smooth. You need to have this as smooth as possible so that the stones don't rock back and forth, like that when you step on them. So I've only got about another 10-15 minutes, maybe, and then it's time to mist it with the water. All the concrete's in, nice and smooth. It's absolutely perfect. The next step is to sweep up some of the spilled concrete. I don't want it to stain these pavers. And I'll clean up these bags first before I wet down the patio. I don't want the pavers stained. So really pretty important. It's time to add the water. It's been a couple of days. It's all finished. You're gonna love the way it looks. Check this out. Here we are. This is where it's all done. So these all the way over to this line here, that's what we did. It is absolutely rock solid. It's a pleasure to walk on. The stones don't budge at all. Absolutely beautiful. If you're going to put down a paver patio and you've got chipmunks around, you might want to think of just using concrete from the get-go. Forget about using sand. Forget about that. That sand's for losers. That's what I think. If you want to discover more home improvement tips, go to askthebuilder.com.